Well, it's absolutely tremendous to be here and presenting at this Tommy Flowers Network and Smart Connected Manufacturing. Well, what a perfect title for MadeSmarter. The review, and now a very mature initiative that I've been very proud to lead since we began the initiative in 2017. Actually, I've got the review still here with me, and one of the things that I'm very proud of is that this didn't end up being just a review that was published and then ends up on a shelf. This is a review that not just are we implementing, we are implementing very much in line with the recommendations that were made in that review. Now, of course, with some flexibility, and as I'll talk about later, particularly one area that I think we weren't focused on enough in the review, we have since bolted on. But other than that, we really are implementing it as was intended by the leadership group of the great manufacturing companies in the UK that came together to lead this initiative, and that being a mixture of manufacturing companies like Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems, I'm pleased to say quite a number of small to medium size enterprises like Renishaw, and smaller companies, and also technology providing companies like ABB, Siemens, and Accenture. Now, what did we do when we set about the review, and how have we done since? I think that's what I'm going to talk about for the next 10 minutes or so. And I think the first thing that we did, I think quite well, is we set out the very clear need for such a program, for such an intervention to happen here in the United Kingdom. And we laid out the purpose of what we're all about. The purpose was and still is very clear. We want to make sure that we make a better job of leading our way into this fourth industrial revolution, into the smart connected manufacturing world, than we did when we transitioned from the second to the third industrial revolution, which, especially when you reflect back on today, we really didn't do a great job. Where did all the industries that were thriving on the silicon revolution of microprocessors, of the first PLCs, of the first robotics, where did all of that technology get created and implemented? Well, it was largely in USA, German, and Japanese factories. And we didn't prepare ourselves well, and we didn't profit. We didn't create enough prosperity through that. And we want to make sure that this fourth industrial revolution, we damn well make a better job of it. So that's the purpose of MadeSmarter and what we're all about. And the review identified that if we do this well, we can, over the next decade, so that's the decade starting in 2017, we can add 455 billion to UK's economy. And very importantly, we can create more jobs than we replace. And we put a number on it, which was that we can create 175,000 more jobs rather than displacing jobs. And that's not saying no jobs will be displaced, because of course, technology like artificial intelligence, machine learning, like robotics, will of course displace jobs. But if we do this right, we create more of the new and the exciting and actually the better paid jobs, which is what we want to be doing. Now, in terms of the need, what we did in the review is we provided the evidence, and the evidence was that we as the UK, certainly in 2017, were not prepared enough. Only 20% of UK small to medium-sized manufacturing companies said that they'd really started the journey of preparing their way into adopting digital technologies like data analytics for their machines maybe, or it might be a new robotic system, or it might be additive manufacturing, only 20%. I have some good news that wind forward to 2020, where Make UK, that are speaking at this conference as well, did a survey, and actually slightly different question, but 80% of small to medium-sized enterprises said that by 2025, they believe they are going to be Industry 4 ready. That's quite a shift. So initiatives like MadeSmarter, hopefully having a positive impact on that. We provided evidence of other countries providing more stimulus and more support, and initiatives like MadeSmarter in Germany, of course. They coined the term Industry 4.0 and a very strong program. But we also looked at programs in Singapore, in Italy, in France, and those programs were better structured and better funded. And we wanted to make sure that the UK has something equivalent. And we hope that MadeSmarter is very much becoming that initiative. And then there were other imperatives which have become even more important today. We as a country have got an ambition to make sure we get to at least the same level as the average of European or indeed of OECD countries in terms of the amount of money that is spent on research and development by the private and the public sector, and to raise that to 2.4% of GDP. We're currently lagging behind at 1.7%. And actually, that will not be achieved unless we have programs like MadeSmarter and unless we really get behind manufacturing more, because manufacturing represents nearly 2/3 of all business R&D that takes place in the UK. So those were just a few of the key points of need and purpose that we strongly identified within the review. Now, more important is, what about the implementation? And I already said that in the original review, we laid out some very simple recommendations that we said that we would systematically follow over the years to come. And as I said, we are systematically following those and getting on with the implementation step by step. The initiative, the MadeSmarter recommendations are 4. The first one was leadership, stronger leadership, manufacturing companies up and down the country, hopefully getting behind this initiative as a key national initiative to support the stronger creation of smart connected factories, as per the title of this conference. The second is to create a stronger innovation ecosystem, drive more innovation in the space of creating smart connected factories. The third was a program to help especially small to medium-sized companies adopt those technologies. And the final recommendation was one of skills and making sure that there is support for companies to be able to upskill their workforce as they transition from 3rd industrial revolution to 4th industrial revolution technologies. The one recommendation that wasn't strong enough that I mentioned earlier in the original review, it was in there, but it wasn't strong enough, and that we have since bolted on to make sure it gets a much stronger focus, is to make sure that everything we do creates a better, sustainable factory and supporting the ambitions of net zero, which of course the implementation of digital technologies generally does, but we recognize that we needed to focus more on that. Let me just take each one of those recommendations in turn. On the innovation program that I described, I'm pleased to say that we have a combined private sector and public sector budget of around 300 million, about half-half, private sector and government supporting us. And we have identified 4 key areas in which to invest that money. The first is actually the title of this conference. It is the smart connected factory. It is in the factory, and how do we better create that connected factory? all the communications technology around it, from 5G through to the sensors and connecting the machinery and automation through to the cloud-based IoT platforms that are then supporting and optimizing the factory processes. That's number one. Number two area we're focusing is the integrated and connected supply chains. So the technology to optimize supply chains, better prediction, and making sure that those supply chains indeed are also not just able to be more optimal, but more carbon neutral in terms of the complex supply chains that often happen around our factories. The third initiative is what we're calling the Technology Accelerator, and this is where, working together with the digital catapult, you're hearing from the high value manufacturing catapult at this conference today, and very important is also the digital catapult, which is bringing to the party the many startup and technology companies which are bringing new technology, and it could be in the space of augmented or virtual reality, or again additive manufacturing, or 5G technologies for the factory, and bringing those to help resolve real live challenges that are happening in factories up and down the country. We're calling that the MadeSmarter Technology Accelerator program, so really connecting those technology startup companies. And the final area of focus in this is the area of net zero, and making sure that when we adopt new digital technologies, they are helping optimize and reduce the carbon footprint of our factories and indeed our supply chains. So that's the innovation piece. The adoption piece, we received a budget of initially 20 million for just a pilot in the Northwest. That pilot has now turned, I'm pleased to say, into a fully fledged program, mature program, and it's been extremely successful at supporting thousands of small to medium-sized companies engage better with advanced digital technologies, implement them in their factories, and we have great evidence of how that has led to more output, created more jobs, and it's been so successful that we are now in the process of beginning to scale that program up into the regions of the West Midlands, Yorkshire and Humber, and the Northeast, and those programs are now in development. In terms of skills, we have worked very closely together with High Value Manufacturing Catapult, with Ingenuity, which is the key skills organization supporting manufacturing companies develop apprenticeships and skills in their factories. And of course the Department for Education, and we're working very strongly to help create focused upskilling programs, and indeed MadeSmarter has helped launch a portal which Ingenuity ultimately runs. The portal is called Engage, in which there is lots of materials where companies can come on board and upskill their staff. And MadeSmarter has also developed a leadership program where leaders and management of companies can come on board, less so to learn about the depth of the technology themselves, but more about the business opportunities and the business models that can be changed and created when adopting new digital technologies. And the final area I talked about was leadership. Well, we have a very active and a strong MadeSmarter Commission comprising of about 20 key organizations such as Catapults, but manufacturing technology companies, all coming together and co-chaired by our business secretary and supporting this initiative. And as we go forward, we'd like to see more regional groups like we have in the Northwest, where we have a MadeSmarter regional group that is championing the initiative, and we hope to see more of that as we scale the program up into some of the other regions. So all in all, I would say that a lot of progress is being made, but it has also been challenging. So let me spend the last few minutes just talk about some of the challenges, which I guess are also the learning points in terms of initiatives like this and how we can accelerate them faster. The first one is leadership. And really bringing more companies, especially small to medium-sized companies on boards, to become champions. It's not easy. Everybody's busy in their day job, especially during this pandemic. Everybody's had so many challenges. So to get people to focus some time and to get behind a program like this is not easy. I'm not sure there's a way of shortcutting it other than conferences like this, where we can have a discussion, and by making sure that the program genuinely adds value to manufacturing companies. And with that, we get more and more people to come on board and come on board and support our initiative. The second key challenge is that we are a country that just loves new initiatives. And it's amazing how literally every week, every month, we see new initiatives being driven in growth hubs up and down the country, supporting technology adoption in manufacturing companies. And we'd love, instead of those becoming new initiatives, for those to be initiatives that work with us as MadeSmarter, and combining our knowledge and our experience, and of course our resources and funds as well, to do this. So a key challenge is, how do we over time create a program where people feel like you don't need to create something new. You can just bolt on to something that is existing and that is working and that is improving, and we can continue to develop. And that would certainly be my vision, that in 10 years' time, we have a mature program where, if it's anything to do with digital technology adoption or creation, then people know that MadeSmarter is a program that should be engaged and worked with. And the final area that has been and is a challenge is to scale our activities to the level we need to. I mean, we've been very pleased with having 300 million for our innovation program, 20 million, now beginning to scale that into other regions for the adoption program, but it's not yet anywhere near enough. If you compare the sort of money that flows into our Catapult programs here in the UK, which is around 140 million per year, and you compare that to the nearly 3 billion euros that Germany puts into its Fraunhofer activities every year, you can see that there is quite a difference in scale. Now, of course, Germany have been on this journey for decades. We've probably been on the equivalent journey of creating more innovation like this for only 1 decade. But we do need to really get out and scale these activities. So my final call for everybody at this conference would be, A, engage with the ambitions of MadeSmarter, engage with the leadership, engage in investing in technology in your factories, invest in the skills of the people in your factory to help them upskill. And when you're with policymakers and you're with government, local or national, please help support MadeSmarter with regard to a call for this being the initiative that we want to scale up and ultimately really be the initiative that makes a difference of Britain having made a fabulous job of transitioning to the 4th industrial revolution. Please, if not already on board, join the MadeSmarter journey. Thank you very much.